is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Limited Resources. This episode number 586. My name is Marshall. I'm one of your Limited Resources, and joining me on the line with a fresh new haircut all the way from Denver, Colorado, it's Luis Scott-Vargas. Looking good, buddy. I like the cut, man.
Yeah, thank you. That was the only good thing that happened last weekend.
Yeah, man, you had a rough run. I watched pretty much all of your Rivals League play with the mono red deck. What happened?
So it was like a confluence of a couple things. One is that our testing results against adventures were off by some amount. I don't know how much, but in our testing, we thought adventures was pretty close to an even matchup, slightly in favor of adventures. And it turns out that the matchup is worse than that. Okay. Number two is I played against 7 adventure decks in 11 rounds, which is quite a bit higher than the metagame percentage of them. So my pairings weren't great. And then number 3, I didn't play my best. Like there was I made some high leverage mistakes. I didn't leave up Frostbite one turn and died to the Dragon combo when I had Torbrand in play. So I would have done 5, for example. And, like that's the sort of thing, you give up margin every time you do that. And then lastly, I think I did run below average. Like I think, some of the games that my draws were just pretty bad or whatever. So that if you're wondering how you go 3-8, that's how you go 3-8. You pick a deck that's worse for the field than you thought. You get bad pairings for the deck. You don't play your best, and then you draw badly. All those things combined, just you get smashed. So yeah, that was not the best weekend in terms of results for sure. No,
but I have to say, man, I watched your stream basically the whole time and very impressed with how composed you remained. I mean, I'm sure you were frustrated. I would have been, there comes a point at which, you hit your limit and you're like, okay, I just don't want to do this anymore. Right. But, you were thoughtful and worked your way through the lines of play for every round. And I thought that was really cool that you were able to keep it together. Because, one of the things that people don't realize is that even as a professional Magic player where, you really do have to grow accustomed to loss and disappointment because you can't win every tournament. And that's kind of what you want. It still can be it can be really challenging to try to face down a tough day. But in your entire career, you've only had to face down one tough day at the most, right? Where the next day you don't play. If you have a really crappy day 1 at a major tournament, you don't even make it to day 2 and you're probably in some other city. So you go off and try to see the sights or you root on your friends or you sleep in or whatever, but like the pressure's off. And with these league play, you got to get back up and get back on the horse the next day. And then when it doesn't go well again the next day, that's a lot and not something that you'd necessarily be accustomed to. So I was proud of how you handled that. I thought that was really upstanding.
No, I appreciate it. I mean,
it's hard to do, man.
It's a new experience for a lot of us. So it's funny because on the one hand, I really don't feel great complaining about getting to play Magic for a decent amount of money as one of the things I do for work. Like I've always thought that was like a really lucky position to be in. And I feel very grateful that I'm that. So I also know like I can put myself in the shoes of someone, especially like aspiring players or players who narrowly missed the league or players who played in PTQs and Grand Prix didn't quite get there, seeing a lot of pros basically complain about getting to play Magic. And that wouldn't make me feel good if I was one of those people. So, I think that like, you really have to kind of temper your expectations and realize where you're coming from when you do stuff like that, because I think that there is a risk there, kind of coming off as entitled. And I'm not saying anyone specifically did that, but I'm just saying like, I know how that could feel. Like I've in some ways been on the outside of plenty of things, right? Like, when I wasn't, in the MPL for the first 2 years, not that I am now, but I'm saying like when that was the only thing that was happening in Pro Magic, whenever I saw like people in the MPL complaining about things, it was pretty easy to dismiss that, right? And not feel very sympathetic. So I definitely understand because I saw some of that kind of on social media and I can definitely see where people are coming from. But the other thing you have to realize, I mean, empathy is always great, right? We are playing in a kind of new situation here where, like you said, we don't get to drop. Martin Yuza went 0-11 this weekend.
Oh, God. Oh, I didn't know that.
He has to keep playing. He's 0-5 and he keeps playing. He's 0-8, he keeps playing. And the other thing is every match is still worth the same amount of points.
Yeah.
There's no like crescendo. So when you're doing well in a tournament, your matches all matter, but it's great. You're doing well. You feel good about it, right? When you're doing poorly in a tournament, your matches stop mattering, and that's fine too, because it means you get to stop. Here, when you're 0-10, your match number 11 counts exactly the same as if you were 9-0.
Wow.
So, because it's all just a season. So these players, you might think like, wow, can't they handle these swings? I thought they were pros. And it's like, well, yeah, but this is just a very new system. And if you haven't been there, it's kind of hard to say, like, explain kind of how this feels very different. This feels different from losing at a Pro Tour, even though each individual round is lower stakes than a Pro Tour round, right? Because there's 80 or 40 rounds or whatever it is. 80 rounds, sorry. 80 rounds instead of 16. But Pro Tours and big tournaments kind of self-select to either you do well and you're going to finish well, or you do poorly and you get to stop playing. And this is a different world from all of those. So at the end of the day, I think basically if everyone did a good job of like thinking about how other people feel and their perspectives, then the world would just be a better place in general. So that's kind of how I approach
it's good to see you putting that foot forward. And again, you know, like you said, it's a long season to go. That this doesn't like knock you out of contention or anything for, you know, getting to keep battling. So keep it up, and we'll be rooting for you in the next one, of course. This week on the show, we're doing draft walkthroughs, baby. That's right. You know, a while back we were like, well, let's do a crack-a-pack, and then let's do like multiple crack-a-packs. Well, now we just do some draft walkthroughs straight up on the show. It's a little challenging because we do need to make sure to convey the information to you, the listener, particularly if you're not able to watch the video version, of which there will be a video version on the LR YouTube channel, like there is for every show, that you can actually see us picking the cards and stuff, but we're going to do our best to keep you informed. And our goals with these episodes are A, they're fun. We just, you know, Luis and I love to draft and we get to do it together here. So that's really cool. But B, and perhaps more importantly, they show something that we touched on last week when we talked about context with picks and how you can't just, you know, have a straight pick order and let that guide you. And this lets you hear us talk together through our pick about why we would maybe take a pick that wasn't as obvious, or give you a bigger picture view on how we're approaching the format right now. So that's what we're going to be doing on this week on the show. Let's talk about our sponsor though before we get into it. That's channelfireball.com. Place to go really for everything. I mean, CFP just keeps growing and adding new cool stuff. You can get CFP Pro for premium content. Of course, you can get singles, you can get sealed product, you can get supplies, all of the normal stuff that's been there. They cover different games now. Flesh and Blood and Pokemon are part of the mix. You can do box breaks if you want to take part in kind of a fun way to get a little bit of product in your hands and get a little sweat while you're doing it. That's over there. They'll buy your cards back from you. You can do it traditionally where you go card by card, or you can do U-Box We Buy over at CFB. There's always something going on at Channel Fireball, and we recommend that you head over there and check it out really for anything that you need along those lines. Content, products, experiences. They've kind of got the full gamut at Channel Fireball. If you do happen to check anything out or buy anything or whatever, if you'd use the affiliate code LR at checkout, it does help out the show and we appreciate it. You can also support the show directly via the Patreon. That's patreon.com/limited resources. And, you know, simply put, this is the best way for fans or supporters of a creator or an entity these days to support them. And that's why we have a Patreon over there, is so that if you are interested in supporting what we do over here at LR, that there's a very transparent, clear way to do it, where you know exactly how it works. You know, I can stop anytime. I can adjust my amount anytime. I can come back anytime if I've left. It's completely up to you. There's no commitment or anything like that. You get to set, you can set a monthly amount. So you can say, I want to do this much, but not above this amount. That way you can get it exactly how you want for what works for you, which is what we want. We want you to be able to, if it's, within your realm, to support us in that way, to do so in the way that makes sense for you. And you get some cool perks for doing so. If you sign up, you get a thank you card in the mail no matter what, any level. I just felt like that was an important thing to be able to reach out and say thank you in a kind of physical way. And then, there's a bunch of other kind of benefits that go up the line, and you get access to stuff like the Patreon question of the week thread. You get to watch the live streams as they actually go live, etc. And that's all at patreon.com/limited resources. Now, speaking of Patreon question of the week, Here's one from Joel who says, today on the LRcast subreddit, there was a fairly contentious argument about the ethics of GG from a winning position on Arena. Can we get an official ruling, always bad manners, or okay for the lulls when your meme deck goes off? So, and of course what Joel's referring to is a topic that's come up maybe yearly, the annual GG discussion in the Magic community. I don't know. But
I will say, by the way,
yeah,
we get to skip the handshake part because of COVID. So
yes, we do.
That's a plus. We can shortcut that.
So we have one benefit of COVID in the books. All right, there's a long list of detriments, but whatever. Yeah, but so we're talking Arena now. You're playing against somebody on Arena. The game is not over, or they are in a position to win, and they offer you a good game. And oftentimes, I've heard people defend this as saying, well, I thought the other person might concede, or the game might end before I had a chance to say good game. And I really wanted to tell them, hey, GG, like that was a fun game, or something interesting happened, or whatever. And I have two ways to describe the way I feel about this. The first one is the big point, which is that we're human beings. So the way that we communicate is social. We're social animals, if you will. There are many human being traits that are completely irrational, but we all just accept because we all know that we all feel the same way, or most people do, or whatever. And to me, this fits that bill, in that I know damn well that if somebody says good game to me and they're about to win, it makes me feel bad. Period. I don't know why. They might have the best intentions in the whole world. I don't care. I know it makes me feel bad. In fact, I don't even have my emotes turned on Arena, because I just hate it when people do that. And I find it very rude. And, I really think that it's completely out of line to do that. And the reason is because I know that many, many, many people really hate it. And I'm one of them. So that's the first point. And then a way to illustrate this is, if you've played a lot of Arena, you may have seen the little pop-up that comes up that says, did you enjoy this game? Right? When the thing's over, and it has like a smiley face and a frowny face. And I would be willing to bet a massively significant amount of money that your enjoyment of said game is heavily tied to whether you won the game or not. And even though, of course, you can have a really great game that you can appreciate and say, that was a great game of Magic, and I also lost it, right? That is a gear that I know you have, Luis. I've seen you say that on your stream before, where you're like, I can't even complain. That game was just awesome. But I think many, many, many people do not have that gear. And like I said, I don't know the results of those polls, but I would bet a lot of money that it's tied to whether you won the game or not. And the reason I bring that up is because if you are going to lose the game, that generally means that you're going to be unhappy about it. And then having somebody say good game, either prematurely or from a winning position, isn't a thing. So my take on it is that it is bad manners and you should never do it.
Yeah, I agree. I don't need to rehash all the reasons that you said, but I think that if you're excited about winning a game, then be content by the fact that you won the game, and that's awesome. Your meme deck went off. Brag to your friends. Take a screenshot. Do whatever you need, or post it on Reddit or something. Twitter, whatever. Do anything you can do to make yourself to celebrate and be happy about this, except rub it in your opponent's face.
Yeah,
because I'm even assuming good faith here. I'm saying this is the people who put Tybalt's Trickery, Coma, and a Tormentor's Helm in their deck, and they get to go off or whatever, and they're just like, oh, this is awesome. Yeah, that's great. Just show your friends or tweet about it or something, and get your props. You don't need to rub it in your opponent's face. And then the people who do it to feel bad, well, they're not going to listen to this anyway, because they already know that they're just being jerks. So right. There's almost no point even talking to them about it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you do this, you're making the world a worse place. If your goal is to cause your opponents pain,
Right. And the irony is that backs up the exact point, right? Is that if you have a group of people that do this simply because they know it causes pain on the other side, then it is known that this causes pain. Right? If they were doing this to troll somebody and they legitimately thought it can be interpreted as, you might be losing this game, but we had a really cool experience together, and I'm just glad that we're able to play Magic. So good game, right? They wouldn't choose that as the way that they trolled somebody. So yeah, don't do it. And if your argument is going to go down the road of, well, the other person shouldn't feel bad, because it's technically true that they shouldn't. If you open up your mind about it and say, well, hey, the other person just said good game. Like, why can't it be a good game? Somebody has to, you can go down that road, but you have to just understand that human nature dictates that, at least for whatever reason, the culture that we're in with this gaming and stuff, that is not taken well, and it is bad manners. And if you ignore that, well, that's on you then, not on the person you're playing against. Okay, Luis, shall we? We did have to talk about this real quick, Luis. Our simul stream yesterday, the plow stream, I guess it ended up being.
Yeah, so it was funny because I knew you were going to stream yesterday, but I also had the time to stream, and so my goal was to leech viewers and counter stream you as effectively as possible.
Whatever, you rated me once you were done and gave me like 1,000 viewers or something.
Yeah, I know. It was funny that we both had colossal plows in play at the same time,
which I never do. I think that's the first time I've ever had that card in play.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, people in my chat were like, Luis is. So here's what happened. I drafted an amazing blue-red deck, like a really top tier one, and went like 2-3 or 3-3 or something with it. Just did terrible. And I mean, this was like an A+ deck, right? Like really, really great. And I just bombed out with it kind of on, I was just like, oh, this sucks. I'm like, well, I'm going to do one more draft. And I first picked the Glorious Protector, the 3/4 flying Flash Angel. Yeah. And I picked a few white cards, and I'm like, well, we're probably going to be white aggro, but I had like one blue card or something. I thought, okay, maybe we can figure out something. And there were multiple Colossal Plows and a couple of Giant Oxes floating around the tables, and the chat was just all on me to take them. Well, we wheeled a couple of them, and I'm like, fine, I'll take them here, but like, I don't like this deck. We're not doing that. And then like we opened up another one with like an Ox in the deck or something, and I'm just like, oh my God. And they're just like, do it. So they totally goaded me into it. And then in a later pack, we opened up Coma.
You know what's funny, by the way? A goad is a tool you use to make Oxes do what you want.
Is it really?
Yeah,
wow.
A goad is like a sharp stick thing. It doesn't sound like a very nice thing to use. But,
no, I didn't know that. Oh, wow.
Yes.
So I was the Ox in this case, pulling the giant plow, being goaded by the chat that was on the plow. Anyway, I opened a Coma. That's right. 3 blue, green, Coma, one of the best cards in this set. So I'm mono white with a little bit of blue, and I take it. And then the chat forces me into playing it off of 4 forests and a gold vein pick. So I do that, and I end up with 2 Colossal Plow, 2 Giant Ox. And then I had also a Morite or whatever of the Frost, the clone. And multiple times I cloned my own lands just to be able to cast the Coma out of my. So anyway, we ended up going 7-2 with the deck. We actually got to the 7, and I exported it, and I'm going to put it on the LR YouTube channel so that people can watch, because it legitimately was one of the most fun draft experiences I've had in a while, just because, we had the energy, the chat was going off. And so anyway, that was great. And then also I just had to mention that you and I both somehow ended up with this horrendous Colossal Plow nonsense at the same time, even though it's not something we draft regularly. Let's just say that. Do you want to start with traditional or premier? It doesn't really matter, Luis, I guess, because we're just
fire it off.
We're just drafting. Okay. So, what we're going to do now is we're going to draft, and then we're going to draft again. I'm going to do my best to keep you up to date on what picks we have, what colors we're at, and what's dictating our decisions here. And, let's have some fun and see what we can get. We're going to treat this as if we were, as if like Luis was at a high level event. I think. Does that sound good, Luis?
Yeah, no,
like a real draft, if you will.
Certainly not. No meme drafting here or anything like that.
If you watch our streams, or even sometimes the draft videos, although mainly on streams is when, if I meme draft, that's where I'll do it usually, but not in this case. Okay. So our first pack is up, And we opened Nico Eris, which is that blue-white planeswalker. I've never got to open this stupid card. And then there's also a Squash in the pack. Our land is a Glacial Floodplain, which is the blue-white snow duel. And then I guess there's also a Rootless U in here. What's your thoughts on Nico Eris?
Nico is a solid card. So Nico is X white blue blue for 3 loyalty planeswalker, comes into the battlefield with X shard tokens, and then you can +1 to make one of your creatures unblockable, and it bounces if it hits them. -1 to deal 2 to a tapped creature for each card you've drawn, and -1 to create a shard token. And those are like clues. It's a powerful card given enough time and mana. It's a little slow, but often you can like play this for like 4 or 5 mana, make a shard or 2, pick off a creature. I think I would take it here.
Okay.
Its downside is that it's a blue-white card, and blue-white is one of the bottom color pairs.
Right.
But, you know, if there was a Sorulf's Packmate or Behold the Multiverse, I'd take one of those. But we're not the best card we're talking about is Squash here. That's just not a card that I'm going to take over a potentially strong card, even if he has kind of awkward mana.
Right. And, you know, this is a type of card that we could see playing like blue-green with a white splash for a Bound in Gold and a Nico Eris or something like that. All right, next pack is up. Best card looks like Poison the Cup. That's the 1 black removal spell that has Foretell. Yeah. Looks like the really only good card.
Poison the Cup or Sulphurous Mire, the red-black snowland. But I think you clearly just take Poison the Cup here. And one of the things, too, is like you should just be really prepared to abandon this Nico Eris if it doesn't work out. Like at this point, I'm more attached to putting Poison the Cup in my deck, though a lot of decks in this format in particular could just put both these cards in their deck. You know, we started with Esper colors after 2 picks, so
right.
That's not the easiest thing to do.
Yeah, all right. So we're going to take Poison the Cup over the Sulphurous Mire. There's 3 seasons, Port of Carfell in the pack. There's Depart the Realm, Horizon Seeker. I'm just trying to name some of the cards that you could even seen play at all, but none in contention. All right, our next pack is up. Oh, it's much better. Ooh, there's a lot of good stuff. So there's a Provoke the Trolls, which is the 3 damage burn spell for 4 mana that hasn't really lived up. There's an Augury Raven. There's a Bergy Boy, the Berg Strider, so that's awesome. There's also a Frostbite, an Icehide Troll, and a Snow-Covered Mountain. I'm looking at Bergy Boy myself. I think you are too, right?
Yeah, this pick isn't close. Berg Strider is the best card in the pack, and it's a blue card, which is nice because it goes well with Poison the Cup or Nico Eris, and it's also splashable. Like I don't really see a justification for taking any other card over Berg Strider here.
What would be your order after that? Berg Strider, Frostbite, Icehide Troll, Provoke, Raven. What's your?
I would probably go Berg Strider. I might take Raven over Frostbite here because there's still some chance that we end up in like a Nico Eris blue-white Flyers style deck.
Right.
Maybe splashing Poison the Cup, maybe not. Whereas Frostbite it's a fine card. I do like splashing it in snow decks when it's reliably 3 damage, but it's not something I feel compelled to. Oh, well, we're going to always be holding this pack. There's a Blizzard Brawl, the Snow Fight card, Cardor, or as Ben calls it, Cardor, Doomscourge, the red-black legend, Behold the Multiverse, Highland Forest, the red-green snowland, and then like a Glittering Frost. But it's just a 4th pick. Behold the Multiverse is not only the best card in the pack by quite a bit, it's also a good sign that blue is a color that we should be in. So
should we be offended right now?
No. This could have just been a strong pack. I mean, there was a lot of decent cards still in the pack, so presumably this pack just had a lot of good stuff in it.
I feel mildly offended. Like, if anybody listened to the show, this wouldn't happen, right? Come on, people in our...
Well, this is 4th pick, so what's gone here is a rare, an uncommon, and a common. Yeah, I can construct packs where that's all right.
Okay. Fair enough.
And what's key there is the person who could have taken it 3rd might have taken a weaker card because they already had a white and a red card, for example.
Yeah. All right, this next pack is up, and we've got our uncommons are Ruined Crown and Cole, the Forge Master. There is a snow-covered island in the pack, and really not much else stands out. There's a Mists of Lit Yara, which is underperformed generally speaking, but I do find myself playing it occasionally in decks that just absolutely need ways to not die early. But I would just snap up the island here. Snow-covered island is a premium, right? I think Snow-Covered Forest is probably the most premium, but whatever, Island and Forest are on the same level. And then, you go down to Mountain.
I think Island's slightly better because if you have land searching effects, they usually come off of green mana, so you more likely want to get like your secondary color.
I see. So you have your Horizon Seeker. This lets you get your other color. That makes sense. At any rate, the green and blue are way up there, and then it kind of goes down. All right. Speaking of, there is a snow-covered forest in our next pack. There's also an old growth troll. That's the triple G 4/4. There's another Cole the Forge Master. There's a Depart the Realm. There's a Way Down. It's a little tough here because there's no obvious pick for us.
I think I would lean towards just taking the forest here. Like, there's no card I really want to put in my deck. Like, Elderfang Disciple and a Way Down are fine if you end up in blue-black control, which is a possibility here. But I don't feel like I miss out. Basically, they're maybe a little bit more likely to make the deck than forest given our current configuration, but maybe not that much. And forest is going to be such a better card when it does make the deck.
Yeah, I would choose between Snow-Covered Forest and Way Down here. And yeah, sure, Snow-Covered Forest is fine. We'll see where it goes from here. Our next pack is up, and we've got kind of interesting. So there's a Woodland Chasm. There's a Priest of the Haunted Edge, which is the one that cares a lot about having snow lands. And then the uncommons are Crush the Weak, which is red and also not great. And then Invasion of the Giants, which is also off color and not a great card. If we wanted to take a blue card, our two options are Strategic Planning and Brine Barrow Intruder. So I'm kind of liking the Priest or the land here.
I would definitely take the land. I take the priests once I already have enough of the lands because it doesn't really work the other direction.
Right.
And this is seventh pick is already kind of late. We're not going to obviously get this one back, but you can get priests later on average than you can get snowlands.
Ooh, our eighth pick in pack one has a snow-covered island and a Graven Lore. That's the 3 blue snow instant draw 3, and you scry X, where X is the amount of snow spent to cast it.
Oh, yeah, I would take Graven Lore here.
Yeah, baby.
I mean, it's not as good as Behold the Multiverse, funnily enough, but it is still very, very powerful. I mean, the fact that there's both a Graven Lore and a Snow Island is a really good sign. Pick 8. It means there's a really high chance that blue snow is going to be open. Like, it's not that 0 other people are drafting it, but it looks pretty solid here.
Yeah, this is a really good sign for us, especially the fact that there's a snow-covered island in there, too. All right, so this is our wheel pack. We wield Yara Mirror Lake, which I like a lot, Draugr Thought Thief, which I don't, Undersea Invader, which I don't, and then there's green and red cards plus a Weathered Runestone. I would just take the Mirror Lake here.
Yeah, easy Mirror Lake. This hasn't been too tricky of a draft to navigate so far, in that we're in the nice position of having basically 3 good mono blue cards and then 2 easily splashable cards in Nico Eris and Poison the Cup, alongside 3 snow-covered land and a blue-green spell land. So I think we're most likely to end up like Sultai-ish Snow, especially since now this pack has the 3 seasons, the Uncommon Saga, which is generally bad, Port of Carful, the blue-black Reanimator land, which I find to be quite good, and then just a bunch of really bad commons, Warhorn Blast, Draugr Thought Thief, Death Note Berserker, Arachnoform. So we're going to take Port of Carful, and now we're going to have a blue-green land, a blue-black land, spell lands, a black-green Snow Duel, and then a blue and a green Snow land. So it looks like even though green wasn't particularly open in this pack, well, actually, we just wheeled Icehide Troll with 5 cards in the pack. And even though there's a snow-covered mountain as well, which, again, a good sign, I think here's where I would take Icehide Troll and solidify the fact that we're probably going to be blue-green snow splashing a card or 2.
Yeah, just to zoom out, we are at pack 1, pick 11 here with this Icehide Troll. We've got Poison the Cup, Behold the Multiverse, Bergstrider, Graven Lore, Nico Eris, Snow-Covered Island and Forest, as well as Woodland Chasm, Mirror Lake, and Port of Carfel. Wow, here's a Glittering Frost and Priest of the Haunted Edge still in the pack, as well as a Mass Vandal with only 4 cards left, Luis.
Oh, yeah, this is great. I would take Glittering Frost here. The troll wheeling really sets me on the path to wanting to play green, and Glittering Frost also works nicely with our spell lands. Here we have a 3-card pack that has a Jaspera Sentinel, which is a playable card. This card has gone up in my estimation for sure. And then the fact that we got that late Glittering Frost, even though I like Priest of the Haunted Edge, I would rather just be in the green-based snow deck than the black-based one.
2 cards left in the pack, another Sentinel and a Depart the Realm. Just going to take the Depart the Realm here. And then there's a Brine Barrow Intruder to wrap things up here for pack number 1. Again, I just went over the list of cards we have. So we're primarily blue with some decent green late and a little bit of black plus the Nico Eris and white. And here's pack 2, pick 1. Realm Walker is our rare. That's the changeling 2 and a green 2/3 that lets you choose a creature type, look at the top card of your library, and you can play those creatures. There's a Giant's Amulet, Carter's Vicious Return, your favorite, Weathered Runestone, and then looking down the rest of the pack, there's a Snow-Covered Forest, there's a Glittering Frost, and that's about it.
Yeah, my inclination would be just to take Realm Walker here.
Same.
It's a solid card. You don't need to be super tribal. You just name whatever it is you have the most of, and if you have 3 or 4 of them, that sometimes draws you a card. Plus, your opponent's going to prioritize killing it because they don't know how many of the card type you have in your deck. And it's a changeling, so it helps you with your tribal synergies. Plus, given last pack, there's a decent chance we wheel Glittering Frost or Snow-Covered Forest.
Right. Yeah, either one would be excellent. So Realm Walker goes into the pile, and our next pack is up. The rare's missing, but there's Kaya's Onslaught, Vengeful Reaper, and Invasion of Giants for our uncommons. Looking down the rest of the pack, ABH, Always Beholding in the pack. There's also a Priest and a Snow-Covered Mountain.
Yeah, easy Behold the Multiverse here.
Yeah.
So
this is
right
dope.
now, at this point in the deck with 2 Beholds and a Gravenlore, and potentially even a Splash Nico Eris, I'm looking, all right, where's my removal? Where are my early plays? This is the kind of deck that actually uses Jaspera Sentinel reasonably well, because you can afford to kind of give up a card in the Sentinel in order to make use of your cards at a higher speed, because you have a bunch of ways to draw those cards back.
That's right. Yeah, taking a quick look at our curve, we've got the Sentinel, Depart the Realm as our only pure 2-mana play. Then we have a Big Glut at 3, then a couple of Beholds, and then Bergstrider and Gravenlore at 5. The rest of our picks are lands. So we will need to make some curve consideration picks as we move forward, no doubt about it. All right, here's an interesting pack. There's a Hengegate Pathway, Mistgate Pathway, which is the blue-white non-snow dual, the rare one. Then there's a couple of white uncommons as well as another Invasion of the Giants. For our colors, there's a Bind the Monster. There is a Snow-Covered Swamp. There's also a Masked Vandal and a Knotvold Recluse.
I like the Knotvold Recluse more than I thought I would, the 4/2 reach for 3, but I would just take Snow-Covered Swamp here. We still are going to want a few more snow-covered lands, and at this point with a black-green Snowland and a Glittering Frost, I don't really see a world where we don't splash Poison the Cup.
Right, and we also, last pack, there was the Priest as well that we could very easily wheel, and maybe if we want to go, because I know that you like having that sometimes. I've tried your deck too, the one with a bunch of Priests, bunch of Snowlands, and a few ways to recur the Priests, and I had the same. It was good. It worked. Just, if you're looking to grind, it can do that. Next pack is up, and there's a Bergstrider in the pack. There's only one uncommon, no rares. Otherwise, it's Weathered Runestone, unplayable. There is also Alpine Meadow, which is the red-white snow duel. Not really what we need, but
the worst snow duel of all of them for us.
Yeah,
we're Salt Ice Snow, and I think in an ideal world we don't even splash anything else if we can get unless we get a lot more 5-color fixers. Like Nico Eris is fine, but we don't need Nico Eris as a card draw machine when we have double Behold Gravenlore. Easiest Bergstrider in the world here. And again, once you have 2 Bergstriders, 2 Beholds, and a Gravenlore, I'm looking at how do I get some low curve creatures in Jaspera Sentinel to start casting those a turn ahead of schedule.
Yeah, make sure that we don't die on the bottom end. Next pack is up. There's a Narfi Betrayer King at uncommon. There's no other uncommons left. There is another Mists of Lityara. There's also a Volatile Fjord, which is the red-blue snow duel. There's also a Struggle for Skemfar, which is the fight card with Fortell.
Struggle's pretty solid. Narfi's very good. If
Can we just Narf it up here or what?
Reliably cast Narfi. Yeah, I would take Narfi here. It's a good recurring threat. It kind of solidifies our black splash here and definitely makes me want to pick up a little bit more fixing. But I think that Narfi is going to perform pretty well. Okay,
we take Narfi Betrayer King. Next pack is up, and best card in it is Squash, but we're not currently touching red. There's Snakeskin Veil, Roots of Wisdom, another Knotvold Recluse. There's an Elderleaf Mentor. Those are all the green cards. Black Infernal Pet, no thanks. There is also a Run Ashore, though, and I've been running one of these fairly often and been, well, I wouldn't say happy, but it is playable. And then there's a Snow-Covered Mountain.
I think here I'd actually take Knotvold Recluse, which is, again, a kind of weird pick, but I want cards that can block, and a 4/2 actually with reach blocks pretty well. Mm-hmm. This is not looking like a deck that's going to play Snow-Covered Mountain. We don't have a card to splash that's red, and this deck is just not going to want to play colorless lands in it. Because if you can avoid that, you really do want to. It does make your mana significantly worse.
Next pack up has another Jaspera Sentinel, as well as a Horizon Seeker, Raven Wings, Lityara Kinseekers, but there's a Rimewood Falls. That's the blue-green snow duel, so I think we're just going to snap that off.
Oh, yeah, this is the easiest blue-green snow land in the universe here.
So we'll take that. We're passing a Stalwart Valkyrie, a Run Amok.
So we passed a lot of white in this pack. So whoever cut off white in pack 1 is getting rewarded here, which, that's fine. That means pack 3 should be pretty good. This pack's got the Colossal Plow. I know you like splashing the plow so you can cast your Behold the Multiverses a turn ahead of schedule. Yeah. But I would take Masked Vandal out of this pack. There's also a Snow-Covered Plains, but again, if we can avoid off-color snowlands, that would be great. Masked Vandal's great. Works well with Realm Walker. Works with Jaspera Sentinel if you need it to. Gets pumped by Narfi.
And we really need 2 drops. I mean, our curve right now is woefully low on 2s. All right, so this is our wheel pack. The Carter's Vicious Return did come back. Only card in our colors, though, is Lityara Kinseekers and Raise the Draugr.
I would be inclined to take the Kinseekers, even though I don't really love the card.
Yeah, our creature count is only 8 right now, so that's probably correct. Oh, there's a Giant Ox coming back. All right, the Priest of the Haunted Edge did wheel here out of this pack. Did we just snap it off?
Yeah, I would take it. We might end up in a spot where we're like more straight Sultai than a blue-green splash, but blue-green splash black. But if we get enough fixing, then that can totally work. And Priest is... Again, it's a 2-drop. It's a card that has an effect later in the game. It also gets pumped by Narfi. It's another creature for Jaspera Sentinel. And here, this pack has both Elderfang Disciple and another Notvold Recluse and a Bind the Monster. But I think Bind the Monster, I at this point have kind of downgraded it to just unplayable. Like if you have to play it,
I would play it. I would play one in this deck, but
I think I would take Elderfang Disciple here.
Yeah, same. And that's what we're going to take here. We're definitely leaning more towards being just straight up Sultai, as you mentioned. So that's something we'll have to keep our eye on. Next pack, there's only 4 cards left. We're going to take a Snakeskin Veil. But as this last couple of picks go, I'm going to read the picks where we're at to sort of give everybody the big picture. We've got Jaspera Sentinel. I'll take a miss here. Depart the Realm, Elderfang Disciple, Priest of the Haunted Edge, Mass Vandal, Poison the Cup, Glittering Frost, Notvold Recluse, Icehide Troll, Realm Walker, Double Behold the Multiverse, Lityara Kinseekers, 2 Bergstrider, Gravenlore, Narfi, Nico Eris is still in the pile, and then we've got 5 Snowlands and 2 on Shard, if you will, spell lands. So there you go. All right, our third pack is upon us, and... Oh, wow. We've got a nice one here, Luis. So our rare is In Search of Greatness, which is the GG enchantment that lets you cast a permanent spell from your hand with converted mana cost equal to 1 plus the highest converted mana cost among other permanents you control without paying its mana cost. And if you don't do that, you scry 1. There's also an Always Beholding here, and there's also Frostpire Arcanist and an Ice Tunnel, which is an on Shard Snow Duel.
I think I'm just taking Ice Tunnel here. I love Behold the Multiverse, don't get me wrong, but we have 3 card draw spells and 2 Bergstriders right now, and Ice Tunnel is going to let us play all like our straight 3 build here. So this is a tough pick. You got to eat your vegetables sometime, and here I think Ice Tunnel is the pick that I would make. It's not like we're lacking in card quality, so this pack's kind of a letdown here. It's got Battle for Bredegard as the rare, the green-white saga that's just no interest to us. Rune of Flight, which is not a card we want to play. Pilfering Hawk, the 1/2 flying looter for snow. A Priest of the Haunted Edge. A Demon Bolt is the best card in the pack by miles, but again, not something I'm really looking to put in our deck. And then a Snow-Covered Plains.
Yeah. My inclination is to take Pilfering Hawk here, but I'm sort of torn between that and Priest.
Yeah, I think I would take Hawk and then try to wield a Priest. It's kind of painful to second pick a card that we could have picked 10th or whatever, but that's just the way it goes sometimes.
Yeah, this is brutal. There's no doubt. All right, so we're going to take the Pilfering Hawk. Ooh, oh no. Okay, well, all right. A lot of emotions here. There's Blessing of Frost, which has actually not been that impressive. This is one that puts counters on your creatures and you draw cards. for each one with power 4 or greater. But there's a Svella Ice Shaper in the pack that we probably can't touch. There is a Bergstrider, though, third Bergstrider. There's also a snow-covered Swamp, which would be of relevance to us.
Oh, I'm just taking Bergstrider here, just on the Berg train. There's also a Jaspera Sentinel here, and if we wheel it, I would consider playing 2 Sentinels in this deck because we have Pilfering Hawk, Elderfang Disciple, Priest, Masked Vandal. We're starting to get enough low curve creatures that we could actually make that work.
Okay, next pack has a couple of interesting cards for us. There's a Yara Glade Warden. That's a 3 and a G 3/3 with Changeling, and you can pay 2 and a G, tap it, and exile a creature card from your graveyard to put 2 +1/+1 counters on one of your creatures at sorcery speed. There's also just straight up snow-covered Swamp, which is enticing.
Yeah, I think I'm in for a Swamp here. Like, we want to be able to bring back this Narfi and pump this Ice-Hide Troll, make sure our Bergstriders are always on. And given pack 1, I wouldn't be surprised if we got like a 7th pick Ice-Hide Troll or a 5th pick Avalanche Caller or something like that.
Mm-hmm. And I believe this is our 7th Snowland also. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, this would be number 7. So
we're basically set once we have
there.
that.
Yeah, we're getting to where we really want to be. Next pack has some nice ones. There's a Path to the World Tree, which we could go for fixing. There's also a Highland Forest, which is the red-green dual. Now, we're not splashing red, but it is just a tap green Snowland. And then there's even a Demon Bolt, but we're probably not going to go down that road. I would just take Path here. What do you think?
Yeah, I would take Cruel Ultimatum here. Path to the World Tree. This is not the best Path deck, but we have Glittering Frost and Jaspera Sentinel, so maybe we could get a little something going. Also, if we pick up maybe one other 5-color card, at that point, maybe we relax and kind of open the door to playing an off-color land or two to make this path work. Though I prefer not to do that if possible.
Oh, holy moly. There's a 6th pick Cerulf's Packmate here. And in this pack, there's also another Narfi, a Svella Ice Shaper, and there's even an Arctic Treeline, which is a green-white dual. I would just take the Packmate here, though.
Oh, yeah. There will not be a 7th pick Cerulf's Packmate, not on our watch.
That's right.
And this is making me feel really good about passing Behold for a blue-black land, by the way. Like, we're just not going to run out of gas very often in this deck with, double Behold, Graven Lore, 3 Bergstriders, Packmate. Like, we've got all the things we need.
That's right. Next pack comes up. It's got Rootless You and Provoke the Trolls at Uncommon. Rootless You, I don't believe, has any targets in our deck.
It does not.
So that's a little bit rough. There's also Bind the Monster, Disdainful Stroke, Gold Vein pick. This is best of 1, so I don't think we want...
I would take Broken Wings. I just main deck it now.
Oh, you do?
I think it's a good main deckable card at this point. Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll take it then.
Now there's a second one. I would generally not main deck 2, but the first Broken Wings, especially since our deck is not that high on removal, I find to be quite valuable.
Okay. Sounds good. So we've got that. Now we can pick between Raven Wings and Coma's Faithful.
We're not playing any of the cards in this pack, so
fair enough.
You can basically take whatever you want, especially since it's best of 1. We're not even siding it. Oh, wow. Look at that.
We wield the Frostpire Arcanist.
Yeah, all we have to get is Behold the Multiverse, but that's a hell of a card to get. There's also a Horizon Seeker, but I would just take Frostpire Arcanist. I think the upside of getting to pick up a Behold is really, really high.
Yeah, we'll take the Frostpire Arcanist here. And we did actually wheel the Priest of the Haunted Edge from the pack. This is pack 3, pick 10. So
yeah, this was a pack where we almost second picked it and then correctly, figured out that we could wheel it.
Yeah. So we'll take that. And that leaves a few cards. All right, the Jaspera Sentinel and the Guardian Gladewalker both wheeled, as well as the 3 Seasons, which would actually get us some lands.
I think I would just take Jaspera Sentinel here. I'm looking at this deck with double Sentinel, Pilfering Hawk, Elderfang Disciple, 2 Priest of the Haunted Edge, and Masked Vandal. I'm pretty sure I'm in to play 2 Jaspera Sentinels in the deck.
I'm going to take a Giant Ox for pack 3, pack 12 out of principle.
You could take the Broken Wings to go get with the Frostpire Arcanist.
Yeah, we're just...
I don't know if that's going to come up.
Very all in.
You know what? I actually like Disdainful Stroke. I think it's a fine card to take here.
Okay, so 3 cards left in the entire draft, and we pick up a Disdainful Stroke, and then there's some jank to finish things off. In fact, the very last card in the draft was also a Disdainful Stroke. Okay, so let's take a look
The good thing is we're going to get to cut these Lityara Kinseekers. I can already tell.
Yeah, those are gone. Let's get quick creature count. We've got 16, so we've got a lot of wiggle room. If we run the full 17 lands, we need to cut 4 cards from this. I'm just going to make the stuff that kind of that snuck in here. I guess we're not splashing for Nico, right?
I don't think I would, no.
Okay, so that means 2 cuts. So here's our deck right now. 1 drops, 2 Jaspera Sentinel. 2 drops, Depart the Realm, Disdainful Stroke, Pilfering Hawk, Elder Fang Disciple, Double Priest of the Haunted Edge, Mass Vandal, Path to the World Tree. 3 drops, Poison the Cup, Broken Wings, Glittering Frost, Knotfold Recluse, Icehide Troll, Realm Walker. 4 drops, Double Behold the Multiverse, and a Sorrel's Packmate. How nice is that for our 4s? 5s, Triple Bergstrider, Frostpire Arcanist, Gravenlore, Narfi. And then we'll go over the lands in a minute.
This curve that you just described is exactly why I want to play 2 Jaspera Sentinels in this deck. Look at our cards that cost 4 war mana. Double Behold, Sorrel's Packmate, Triple Bergstrider, Gravenlore.
Yeah.
Like also Narfi and Frostpire Arcanist. Like these are just such high impact cards. And if you can cast a card here ahead of schedule, it's really, really strong. So I would definitely not cut the Broken Wings here. I don't think our deck is that high on removal. The Double Priest of the Haunted Edge is kind of nice, with effectively 8 snowlands, counting 9 actually, counting Path to the World Tree and Glittering Frost, both as kind of snowlands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, cards I would look at cutting here would be Depart the Realm, Disdainful Stroke, Knotfold Recluse. Those are kind of the 3 that jump out. Elder Fang Disciple could go. I'm a little wary to get too low on creatures. If we're going to run double Sentinel, we want to make sure that it always has a friend. A lonely Jaspera Sentinel is a very depressing thing.
I think I'm on cutting Depart the Realm and Disdainful Stroke just to maximize our creature count, just to make sure. So we're running a little high on mana because we have 17 lands, 2 Sentinels, Path to the World Tree, and Glittering Frost.
So we could cut a land, or do you want to keep them all?
I think I would keep these lands, but on the counterbalance to that is we have 2 spell lands, Lityara, Mirror Lake, and Port of Carfell, and those are both really heavy hitters. Like these are like the high impact spell lands where you get to clone a Bergstrider or a Packmate or bring back one of those things. And we also have, like we mentioned many, many times, 3 big card draw spells in Beholds and Gravenlore, plus Frostpire Arcanist, which will sometimes nab a second Behold. So, and even a Pilfering Hawk. I don't think we're going to flood that often. Yeah.
Okay, cool. What about our mana? We're actually primarily green by the end of this, which is kind of interesting because that's not where we started. But, if you look, we have 2 Jaspera Sentinel at 1, and then we've got the Mass Vandal and the Path at 2, and then our 3 drops are almost all green: Broken Wings, Glittering Frost, Recluse, Icehide Troll, Realm Walker. And then we've got the Sorrel's Packmate. Then we turn blue with Double Behold. And then at the 5-drop slot, 3 Bergstrider, Frostpire Arcanist, Gravenlore, all blue. And then Narfi, which is also a blue card. So interesting that we actually want to load up on green here, I think, so that we can cast our Sentinels and our Paths to set up our mana for later. So I would make sure we have something like 9 to 10 green sources here is what
the question here is, do you cut 2 swamps or a swamp and an island and then add 2 forests to get to 9 green sources, which can then help you get to your other colors?
I think I would cut 2 swamps.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at too, because Behold the Multiverse can help find you your black sources if you need to.
Yes, and
you also seriously need to upgrade your land choices here. Did you not buy any of the cool land cosmetics?
Whoa. These are Bob Ross's, buddy.
They just look like M10 lands.
This is art by Bob Ross.
Oh, man. See,
Happy Little Trees.
This is just new frame striking again. The old frames just look better. Sorry. I use all the APAC lands that have old frames, and they just look better.
You better hope that Bob Ross forgives you for this slight. All right, so this is 6, 7, 8, 9.
That's 9. Okay. 9 green, yeah.
Okay, and then how many blue? 2, 3, 4,
7
5,
blue.
6, 7. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, and then only 4 black, but you also have 4 green fixers that fix black. So it's kind of like 8 black if you count the green cards.
Yeah. And so there you go.
The cool thing about it is I've run decks that have like 2 Shimmerdrift Veils that are really trying to stretch too thin. this deck has Jaspera Sentinels and Glittering Frost as like recurring all color fixers, so you don't even have to lock yourself in there.
Now, one thing that I think a lot of people might be wondering about, and I want you to talk about real quick, is the Nico Eris. So we took that first. We could easily get away with splashing this card. We've got the double Sentinel. We've got the Glittering Frost. And we could sneak in a white source if we really wanted to as well. What is our reasoning for not playing this card?
So Nico Eris is a strong card, but is a somewhat expensive card to get full value. And even if you play Nico at the cost of 3 or something, in order to use the shards, you're paying 2 to crack them and to scry 1 and draw a card. I don't think that adding planes to the deck, destabilizing our mana, and then also having Nico in hand, where sometimes when we haven't drawn the planes, is worth the effect, given that we have 4 big card draw effects, counting Frostfire Arcanist as kind of like the 4th Behold or 3rd Behold, as well as triple Bergstrider Sorrel's Packmate. Like, we're just not lacking high end, and I don't think we need Nico. If this deck didn't have the 2 Beholds, I'd probably be looking at splashing Nico instead.
Okay, so it's not worth the risk to our mana to get an effect that we already are solid on. So let's do another draft, Luis. We're not done yet.
Definitely.
Oh, I almost hit play. This almost got really ugly. All right, we'll do one of these. And we'll jump into the queue again. What do you think about our deck?
That's a good deck. It actually kind of covered all its bases in the end, because even though it's a little light on removal, it's got Poison the Cup, double Priest of the Haunted Edge, which are going to be good for 2 to 4 snowlands in play most of the time. Mm-hmm. It also has a Broken Wings and triple Bergstrider. You don't need to kill their stuff if you just play 2 Bergstriders. So the combination of triple Bergstrider and a bunch of good card draw spells, I think that deck's actually going to do quite well.
Okay. I'm going to do my best to try to record me playing those as well. All right, next draft is up, and we have a rare Egon, God of Death. This is the 6/6 Death Toucher for 3, but you have to exile 2 cards from your graveyard at the beginning of your upkeep, or else you have to sacrifice Egon and draw a card. But it's also Throne of Death, which is black for a legendary artifact that says at the beginning of your upkeep, mill a card. Then you can pay 2 and a black, tap it, and exile a creature to draw a card, exile a creature from your graveyard to draw a card. Other cards in the pack, Doomscar Titan, Rune of Speed, and a Path to the World Tree. And then otherwise, there is a Snow-Covered Island and a Squash of relevance.
Egon is a card people ask about frequently, and it's just bad.
It's just super mediocre, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's completely unplayable, but it's not like a rare in the sense that, oh, you should take this card. This is a sweet one. It's just not going to do that well. I think I'm on just taking Path to the World Tree here.
Just keeping as open as possible. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Cruel Ultimatum is really strong. This card just gets activated a lot. Squash is also a perfectly reasonable pick here, so I think whatever you're feeling.
I like Path to the World Tree. Let's stay open, and we'll see. And by the way, you will note probably some similarities from this draft to the next, because this is how we draft the format. Next up is this is a truly crappy rare. This is Mystic Reflection. It's really bad. I don't even want to read it. Rune of Flight, Return Upon the Tide are in this pack, as well as Fall of the Imposter, the one that gives +1/+1 counters and then exiles a creature. There's also a Feed the Serpent here, as well as a Snow-Covered Forest.
I'm just on Snow-Covered Forest after first picking Path.
Yeah, to me it's between Feed the Serpent and Forest.
Oh, clearly Feed is the second pick here, but I just don't want to take a double black card this early in the draft. I just don't see that as being a good value.
Yeah, I agree. If we're already in black, then I'll take as many feeds as I can get, but let's keep our options open. Ooh, next pack is up. We've got a Frostfire Arcanist here. That's a card that when you pick it up this early can really do work for you particularly, but also can just be good anyway. There's also Bound in Gold, which I like, and then there's a Highland Forest too. That's the red-green Snow Duel.
I think I'm interested in taking the red-green Snow Duel, but Frostfire Arcanist is close.
Yeah, this is a really interesting pick, because if we just dedicate another pick to the snow situation, we're on our way to a 3 to 4 color snow deck that could do really well. But Arcanist is a payoff. It is a powerful payoff, for these type of decks. Let's just take the forest though, the Highland Forest. Let's just stay open.
Yeah, I like that.
All right, next we've got Tundra Fumarole, which is the 1 red does 4 and gets you some mana. Somehow a rare that's worse than the common burn spell, but whatever. And then there's Glimpse the Cosmos, a card that Luis and I both love, as well as Morite of the Frost, which I also like, and a Snow-Covered Swamp. I'm definitely slamming Glimpse here myself, though.
Oh, yeah, I don't think this is close.
I'm sure you're with
Getting
me.
a fourth pick Glimpse is really nice. Also, I mean, this pack has Glimpse, Fumarole, Snowland, Burrito of the Frost. Like, we're not seeing much in the way of white aggro. I guess Tundra Fumarole is good in the white-red. There's also a Raven Wings. I'm just looking at what other decks we could possibly be in, but I think it's criminal to not take Glimpse of the Cosmos here. It's just such a good card.
Yeah,
and it's just easily splashable.
It is, yeah. It's funny because in Kaldheim they just do a lot of beholding and glimpsing, and I'm here for it. Like I would be a.
I wonder why we like the format.
Yeah, I would be an astronomer if I lived there in that time. Oh, speaking.
I mean, look. We're not forcing this, but when we get fifth pick Behold the Multiverse in pack 1 after a fourth pick Glimpse the Cosmos, you're just spewing win equity if this is not the direction you're going. Like, this is just true. What you should be doing.
This is what you should be doing. So we get Behold the Multiverse in a good pack too. There's also a Squash and a Snow-Covered Island here as well. So some really nice playables, but always beholding. It is a funny joke. It is also true the majority of the time. So right now, let me go.
I do think that it would have worked out better to take Frostfire Arcanist, given our next two picks.
Yes.
I would rather have a Frostfire Arcanist setting up Beholds and Glimpses, but, here we are.
Whatever. Yeah, so to go over our picks real quick, we've got Glimpse the Cosmos, Behold the Multiverse, Path to the World Tree, Snow-Covered Forest, Highland Forest. All right, next pack is up. And, well, there's a Snow-Covered Mountain. Yep. There's also Gates of Istfell. There's a Raven Wings, a Knotfold Recluse. There's a Code Spell Cleric. There's really not much here. I would just take the mountain.
Yeah, I think taking the mountain is good. Given that we have Glimpse the Cosmos, there's a good chance we're going to want some giants in our deck, which means we might want like squashes. Also, there was a late squash, which, I mean, we passed it the other direction, but it means at least in pack 3, it seems like giants has a good chance of being open.
There you go. So we'll take Snow-Covered Mountain. And our next pack has Saw It Coming, a Broken Wings. There's a Cinderheart Giant, a Draugr Recruiter. There's a Great Hall of Starnheim. Yeah, there's not much here.
Yeah, I think Saw It Coming is a fine card, and blue does seem to be fairly open. So as long as we keep taking blue spells and green lands, we can make something work.
Yeah, that's true. And that really is a big part of the format. So Saw It Coming here, this is pack 1, pick 7. Again, we've got Glimpse, Path to the World Tree, Behold, Snow-Covered Mountain, Snow-Covered Forest, Highland Forest, and Saw It Coming.
And it's worth noting we don't actually have a payoff for Snowlands yet.
Right.
So we don't need to go super hard on those. Path to the World Tree doesn't mean that we eventually want to get to 5. Oh, there goes a payoff for Snowlands. There's a Frostbite in a pack with Tuscary Firewalker and Tormentor's Home. So 3 red cards in this pack, all of which are pretty good. Like, these are all solid, plus a Shackles of Treachery, which is terrible. And then 2 terrible black cards, because they're black, Death Knell Berserker and Jarl of the Forsaken, and then Nico Defies Destiny and Brine Barrow Intruder, which are not really anything. But getting a Frostbite here is perfect.
Yeah, this is great. We've already got the mana covered with the mountain, the Highland Forest, and the path. So we'll take Frostbite here. Next is the pack that we opened, and in it there is Rune of Speed, Immersturm Raider, Run Amok, and then there's also a Frostpeak Yeti, a Grim Draugr, a Code Spell Cleric, and a Shackles of Treachery.
These are all aggro red cards. Aggro red is clearly open here.
We have no creatures.
I don't see us playing any of these cards. I think I would take Frostpeak Yeti because it's the only blue card in the pack. And we're not going to play it. Like, I'd put it right in the sideboard. But I would just cut that off. And look, if someone's drafting red aggro next to us, yeah, they're getting another Run Amok here. But, what can you do?
So our choices are between Depart the Realm and Rune of Flight.
I would take Depart the Realm here, I think.
Same.
Like, it's just a solid card. It's not a card I'm like thrilled to play, but I'm never like super unhappy if I put this card in my deck.
Me too. I mean, you have to be patient with it and try to engineer a situation where you're trying to get a card back out of it, but that actually does happen a fair amount of the time. All right, pack 1, pick 11. We've got Run Ashore. There's also a Hailstorm Valkyrie, kind of interesting because we do have a decent number of snowlands, but no black. Doomscar Oracle, Seize the Spoils, and Arachnoform round out the pack. I would just take Run Ashore, though.
Yeah, we also have outs here, by the way, of just being like blue-red and not even being green, depending on how things pan out.
True.
We only have one green card, and it's Path to the World Tree, and we don't really have any other reason to be green. We have a red-green land, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't think there was a way into blue-red aggro here because our good cards don't really work with that. But we'll see what Pack 2 is like. Hopefully, Pack 2 we get a little more action. Blue is definitely open.
Blue's
and
open.
So is aggro red. But at this point, we don't really have a second color as much. We just have a bunch of blue cards, a Path, and a Frostbite.
So we just picked up a Raven Wings. Now we're going to pick up a Carfell Harbinger. Interesting to note here is that we still have no creatures.
Yes,
as we round out pack number 1.
The closest thing we have to a creature is activating Path to the World Tree and making a 2/2 bear.
That's right. So, look at this. So our next pack comes up. Our rare, another old growth troll, the one we mentioned before. But there's an Agar the Freezing Flame here that could tip us off into the Giants direction pretty hard if we want.
Yeah, I would definitely take Agar here. It goes well with Glimpse of the Cosmos and Frostbite, and is just a powerful card. Plus, I think that it's potentially open that we end up moving into just blue-red. Because green wasn't open in pack 1. Doesn't mean we won't play green, but I think in general we should probably just be opening or keeping the door open to just be blue-red and abandoning the one green card and the one green land we have so far.
Right. The rest of the pack is Snow-Covered Mountain. There's also a Sculptor of Winter here. As far as giants go, there is one. There's a Cinderheart giant, so occasionally that makes its way into a deck. There's even a Runed Crown, and there was quite a few runes flying around, but we didn't get any of them. So Agar goes into our pile. Next up, there is another Frostbite. There's also a Rune of Speed, a Teskari Firewalker. There's a Kinseekers here in blue, and that's about it.
Wow, your Frostbite Arcanist pick would really be better here, but because we're going to take the second Frostbite here easily, and see where we go. On the other hand, though, Highland Forest does make our double Frostbite more likely to deal 3 damage. Even if we're straight blue-red, we'll play Highland Forest in this deck.
Definitely. All right, so Frostbite going into the pile. So now we have double Frostbite, Depart the Realm, Glimpse. We currently have Paths of the World Tree and Raven Wings in, though. We'll see. Saw it coming.
You could take the Raven Wings out. I really don't see a universe where that ends up making the cut.
Okay, take that out. Then we've got Saw It Coming, Agar, Behold the Multiverse, Run Ashore, then Snow-Covered Mountain, Snow-Covered Forest, and Highland Forest. And we are in pack 2, pick 2 right now. So there goes Frostbite into our pile. Let's see what we get for pack 2, pick 3. Ooh, Dwarven Hammer, Mistwalker. Yeah, those are the cards.
That's interesting. Dwarven Hammer is quite powerful.
Definitely
Mistwalker's
powerful.
great too. The main reason to take Mistwalker would be to up the chances that we can flashback Glimpse the Cosmos, but I think I would just take Dwarven Hammer here. It's just such a good card. Yeah. And we are definitely moving more into just straight blue-red at this point. Yeah,
it also works well with Agar, right? If you get the hammer on a giant, then it's just like...
You have to make sure to assign damage correctly, because if they block like a 6/3 giant with a 3/3 and you go 3 to the creature, 3 to you, you won't draw the card. You need to assign excess damage directly to the creature.
Oh wow, I did not know that. Okay, very good to know. Okay, Dwarven Hammer.
So you'd assign like 4 and 2 in that case to do 1 excess damage.
Okay, and we got a really nice pick here too. So there's a Doomscar Titan at uncommon, and there's a Squash, as well as a Bergstrider. Wow, what a pack for us. This is a tough one.
My inclination is just to take Bergstrider.
Same.
It's like casting Squash, but you also get a 4/4. Yeah. And even though Squash and Agar is a fantastic combination, you just can't go wrong with Bergstrider. And at this point, we're looking to move straight into blue-red giants.
Also, we really do have a lot of ground to make up here as far as creatures go, because right now Agar's our only creature. We do have Dwarven Hammer, but like...
yeah, so 2 creatures.
Yeah, so now we've got 2, right? So if we take a Squash, that's fine. But, we do need to hit critical mass of creatures to have a functional deck. So Bergstrider goes in, and look at that. We just got past another Agar here, pack 2, pick 5.
Easy Agar. And now we're like, it's going to be really hard to move us off of just blue-red giants at this point.
Right. The other cards in the pack that are relevant to us, there's an Axguard Cavalry that we could wheel. There's a Dwarven Reinforcements. None of these are particularly great in the deck, but we need creatures. There's also an Undersea Invader. So if we're really light on expensive giants, we could play one. I don't like the card, but again, this is our third creature hitting the pile here. So we've got Double Frostbite, Depart the Realms, Glimpse, Saw It Coming, Dwarven Hammer, 2 Agar, Behold the Multiverse, Bergy Boy, Run Ashore, and 2 Snowlands right now. And our next pack is a brick. There's no blue cards literally at all, and there's 1 red card, and it Seize the Spoils. Best card in the pack is Struggle for Skemfar. Which we actually do have a Snow Forest and a Highland Forest.
Yeah, I might take Struggle. It's not good, but it does work with Agar if you make one of your giants fight their creatures. And we do have a Highland Forest, which we're going to play anyway, and a Snow Forest, which we kind of want to get in the deck, to up our snow count. So in a perfect world, Struggle for Skemfar does not make our deck. But yeah, well, I think it's the best pick to kind of play, give ourselves the best chance in this draft. It's a good way to hedge our bets.
Pack 2, pick 7, there's another Struggle for Skemfar, and there's also 0 blue cards, but instead of the 3-mana card being the Spoils, now it's a Tuskeri Firewalker, which we should just take, right?
Yeah, like here I would just take Tuskeri Firewalker. Like, it's not like the most exciting card in the world, but if you play a Firewalker and back it up with a Frostbite or a Depart the Realm, like, you can get it in for an extra card or two, and
it does happen. It does happen. So we'll take the Tuskeri Firewalker here, getting that creature count up a little higher as well. Okay, now there's a 3rd Frostbite. There's also a Rimewood Falls, which that would be a dual that we could use towards our kind of teamer deck. There's also a Hoggy Mob, which is not a giant.
Yeah, I wouldn't consider Hoggy Mob here, but I think I would just take Frostbite over Rimewood Falls. With double Agar, having triple Frostbite is going to be really, really strong.
Definitely.
And we're a little short on Snowlands here, but look, there we go. Snow-covered Mountain is a fantastic pickup with 3 Frostbites in our deck, and we're going to go into pack 3 with 3 Snowlands plus the option of playing a snow-covered forest if we can afford to play an off-color Snowland, which sometimes you do end up doing.
Okay, so Snow-Covered Mountain here. I'm still keeping an eye on our creature count. It's at 4 right now. And unfortunately,
we're doing
Pack 2
fine.
pick 10. Yeah, I know. You don't worry about that, right? Pack 2 pick 10 unfortunately gives us just a Rune of Speed, or we could take a Funeral Longboat if we really wanted. But
I would take the Rune. Yeah. Funeral Longboat is just one of the worst cards in the set. Oh, this is not the actual worst. Picking up a Lityara Kinseekers here. Look, it's not great in your 5-creature deck, but it's a creature that can help you flashback Glimpse. It counts as a giant for Agar combats and whatnot. And, you don't need a second Run Ashore, and you definitely don't need a Raven form.
Right. So we'll take Lityara Kinseekers, and then, we got the Squash back. This is pack 2, pick 12 Squash.
All right, so getting a Squash back with 4 cards in the pack, first of all, it's just unbelievably good with double Agar. Second, it means like if good giant stuff gets open pack 3, we're just going to rake it in. Like at this point, my confidence level that we're going to splash green or that we're not going to splash green is very high. I believe we're going to be able to make it to 2 colors. We have currently 16 playables, though. Yes, we do have to put a bunch of creatures in our deck. We are a little short on those, but I'm just not that worried about it. We just got such a good card back.
We really did. So Seize the Spoils to round out this pack. There's an Immister Skull Cairn, and that's going to bring us to pack number 3. Let's see what we open up. Oh, pretty good one. So this is interesting. So the rare is the Blood Sky Massacre, which is the Rakdos. It's 1 black red. It makes a 2/3 Berserker, and you get a card with the next turn for when your Berserkers attack. Pretty good card, but there's also a Squash in this pack. This is a good pack too. There's also Spirit of the Alderguard here and a Snow-Covered Forest, but we just need to take a Squash here, right?
Yep, the card we just took with 4 cards in the pack is the card we'll happily first pick.
Yeah, so that says a lot about that last pack.
This isn't a reluctant first pick. This is like great.
Yeah, with 2 Agar, Squash is basically just 2 mana, kill anything, draw a card.
Yeah, what end up happening is when you have both those cards in your hand, you just don't play Agar until you can go turn 5 Agar, immediately squash their biggest creature.
And just get sick value. All right, Luis. Can I interest you in another Agar, the Freezing Flame here, pack 3, pick 2, or would you value a second Behold the Multiverse. Now, the interesting tension here being we always want an Agar on the battlefield, but this is the third of a legendary creature now.
Oh, I would take Agar still. So the thing about Agar is when Agar's out, especially in this double squash, triple frostbite deck with other giants, he's going to be generating you massive amounts of card advantage. So you're not going to worry about drawing a second one and having it be dead. And then the second thing is that when Agar's in play, your opponent's going to go to great lengths to kill your Agar. So it's not even like drawing 2 or 3 Agars in a game is that bad.
All right. Yeah, I like it. There is an Axguard Cavalry that I'm secretly really hoping that we wheel out of this pack. Ooh, another Glimpse the Cosmos here. This is our giantless giants deck so far. It's like Agar's our only giant.
We've got 5 giants in our deck. We've got a Kinseekers and a Bergstrider.
Okay.
I mean, this is just turning into like the greatest hits of giants here, where we've got double Glimpse, triple Agar, double Squash, and it kind of doesn't matter what other cards you put in the deck. Like I'm looking at this Axguard Cavalry and Immersturm Raider that, yeah, we're going to play one of these crappy creatures that we wheel, and it's just going to get subsidized by the fact that our double Glimpse, triple Agar deck is just going to draw 3 extra cards per game and beat them with Undersea Invaders or, Cinder Giants or whatever it is you need to kind of reduce yourself to.
Oh, look at this. Our next pack. This is pack 3, pick 4. Has Basalt Ravager. That's the 3 in a red 4/2. That when it ETBs, it does X damage to any target, where X is the number of creature types that your creatures share in common. There's also another Behold the Multiverse here, too.
I think I would still just take Behold here.
No way. Really? I would take Basalt Ravager.
It's just going to deal 1 so often here.
Is it?
I mean, how often are we going to have a second giant in play?
Also, it is much more likely to wheel.
Yeah, I think we might be able to wheel it too. This pack is not terrible.
Okay, I'll go for Behold. But the reason that I wanted to take it wasn't necessarily just because it did so much damage, but because we need creatures and it is a giant.
Yeah, no, totally. It would be a very good card for the deck. Like we're going to take an Augury Raven this pack, and I would much rather have Basalt Ravager because it does make your glimpses and works with Agars and all that stuff.
Yeah,
but Augury Raven's still going to do the job here. I think Behold the Multiverse is really good.
It is true. It is true. I mean, Behold the Multiverse. It didn't take that much to convince me there, but I think I would have taken the giant. I just feel like we need creatures. We need our giant count higher, and he also works well with Agar, right? Like you just attack with it, and there's not a lot of 4/4s or whatever around. All right, Augury Raven into the pile. And our next pack has kind of a miss here. This is pack 3, pick 6. It saw it coming. There is a Svella if we wanted to revisit that. And then I
think I might take Svella here because we have a snow-covered forest and a highland forest. Also with double Glimpse, double Behold, it does feel like we're going to do a decent job of seeing a lot of cards, and having something like Svella to actually close out the game. This deck might need that. If we had more like Craven Giants in our deck, I'd be fine just taking Saw It Coming. But I think Svella as a finisher is something this deck is going to be happy with.
This is actually a tough pick. So there's a Frostpire Arcanist, which I think we just have to take. But there's also a Snow-Covered Mountain, which we could really use to get our triple Frostbrites. Because right now we have Snow-Covered Mountain ×2 and 1 Highland Forest, so it's actually pretty tough for us to get Frostbite online. But Frostpire Arcanist is going to be a 2-for-1 just too often here with double
Frostbite Arcanist is broken in this deck.
It's broken in this
Triple
deck.
Frostbite, double Glimpse, double Squash, double Behold. This always is drawing us a good spell.
Oh, man. That's insane. All right, so this next one is interesting. So you mentioned Cinderheart Giant. This is pack 3, pick 8. There's also, though, which is in this pack, but there's also a Volatile Fjord, which would be perfect for our deck.
Yeah, you just have to take the land here. We also just took Svella, which is a good finisher, right? Because if you play Svella, if they don't kill her, she eventually just starts cranking out threats. Mm-hmm. Taking the blue-red land helps us cast Svella more often. So I think
how do you feel about Scorn
cool.
Effigy?
I don't think we're going to play Scorn Effigy or Fearless Pup.
We're not playing any of these. I'll take the Fearless Pup because I like it. Pack 3, pick 9 is bringing us Fearless Pup, Shackles of Treachery, Open the Omen Paths, and Scorn Effigy in our colors. So basically nothing. And now we're in pack 3, pick 10, and our choice is Rune of Flight or Frost Peak Yeti. And we're just going to take the Yeti.
I think I would take the Yeti. Though I don't think we're going to have to run it. Like, regardless of our somewhat low creature count, I still think Frostpeak Yeti is probably not something. See, look, perfect. We picked up an Axguard Cavalry, which I think is going to be a little better than the Immersturm Raider here.
It's really funny because this is the pack that Luis was talking about when he said, well, we're going to have to play one. Well, they both came back. So, yeah, we'll take the Cavalry here. So that's good. And by good, I mean necessary. And then our last few picks here, pack 3, pick 12, is Fearless Pup, Shackles of Treachery, Way Down, and Duskwielder, whatever. We're not playing any of these. And then with three cards left, it's Forging the Tyrite, Sword Carters, Vicious Return, and Broken Wings. More cards we can't or won't play. Snow-Covered Swamp made it all the way to the end here, as well as Valor of the Worthy. And then the very last card is, hey, it's your favorite. It's a Funeral Longboat. We'll send it out on its final voyage. Okay. So let's take a look at where we're at here as far as the deck. So first big decision is, are we playing Svella or no?
I would splash Svella. We've got not only a red-green land, we also get to put a snow-covered forest in our deck, which I actually think the deck does want, like a snowland. It wouldn't play the snowland just because of Frostbite, but with Svella on the table as well, it just adds a slight bit more appeal. We also have Volatile Fjord, so a blue-red land helps us splash green because it means our requirements for blue and red are met more easily. And then we also have double Glimpse, double Behold, plus these triple Agar with 5 burn spells in our deck means we're going to draw cards off Agar pretty reliably too. Once I'm drawing that many cards, I want to make sure this deck can actually kill them because, yeah, it would have been nice to pick up a 7/6 Giant. I don't think we were supposed to take it over a blue-red Snowland. That was just too perfect. Mm-hmm. But having Svella in the deck means you can crank out a couple more 3/3s and eventually beat them. I actually am kind of thinking this Frostpeak Yeti is going to make the cut now that I'm looking at the deck.
Mm-hmm. I think we have 2. I have one of them in the deck still.
Yeah.
Do we want to play the basic forest?
Let's figure out our cuts to the deck, and then we can see what our mana base wants.
So I like cutting both Runes of Speed.
Yeah, clearly cutting the both runes, and the Seize the Spoils is actually kind of interesting. Mm-hmm. That would likely be my next cut. We could play Seize the Spoils as an additional green source, and then not play a forest. Mm-hmm. Because the question is going to be, do you play the one forest alongside the snow forest and the highland forest, or do you just play the 2 snowlands as your only 2 green sources? 2 sources is generally a bit lower than I want to be, but I think we probably should just cut Seize the Spoils.
That's what I'm with cutting it as well. I think it's totally crap, and also we've got a lot of spinning of our wheels. We've got double Behold, triple Glimpse, and a few, saw it coming and stuff that we're going to want to foretell.
This deck's really, really going to lean on this Dwarven Hammer, isn't it?
Yes, the hammer's going to be a big finisher. Like, I don't think we're going to have any problem at all getting a bunch of cards in our hand. That's not going to be the issue. But we actually have to get a little creative with the way that we win the game by maybe splashing Svella, maybe play a Frostpeak Yeti to just have an additional threat. Basically, I think our game plan is to just overload our opponent's removal because they can only kill so many Agars.
You put that hammer on the Frostpeak Yeti.
There's the combo.
Just go to town. I think my last cut here is Run Ashore. And the reason is we've got triple Frostbite, double Squash, and Depart the Realm. And when you draw a lot of cards, I think I would rather have cheap cards than expensive ones when you draw a lot of cards. Because the main difference between Depart the Realm and Run Ashore is Run Ashore is card neutral. You're not down a card because you put a card back on top of their deck. Mm-hmm. But once we have so many avenues towards card advantage, at that point I'd rather just pay 2 mana for the effect than 6 mana and just be down a card instead of even.
Now, is there any argument to playing both Paths of the World Tree and Struggle for Skemfar and expanding our green splash a bit here? These are both, splashing for fixing is generally not where you want to be, but Struggle would be good in our deck. I don't know.
I wouldn't play Path. I don't think you need to play Struggle is the thing.
Yeah, we have so
5 burns with 5 burn spells and a bounce spell and a Bergstrider plus Frostfire Arcanist to pick up another burn spell. We're pretty good on removal, and our creatures kind of suck. Besides Dwarven Hammer, we have no creatures that have power greater than 3 except one Bergstrider.
Yeah, one Bergstrider, yeah. Yeah, we're going to try to win this game with like Frostpire Arcanist beatdown or maybe an Augury Raven to clean up the mess.
The way we're going to win this game is kill 4 of their creatures and be up 5 cards off Agars and Beholds and Glimpses.
Definitely.
And then just beat them down with a Lityara Kinseekers, a Frostpeak Yeti, and a Dwarven Hammer or whatever.
Yeah, it's funny when it comes to the mana. Let's see what our mana looks like here. So right now we've got 8 blue sources, 6, 7, and then 8 red and 3 green. That's including a basic forest, which is pretty good. My inclination is to... We might want to keep it like this, but if I was going to decide, I would cut the forest and just because I don't care about getting Svella down in any time frame. Like Svella represents inevitability for us rather than like a turn 3 play or something like that.
Svella is not a mana fixer,
right?
And you're just going to want to play Svella on turn 6 or 7, threatening an activation on turn 8. I think I would cut forest for Island here and go up to 9 blue sources.
That's what I'm thinking too. And I'm going to go ahead and put a beautiful Bob Ross Island in here. You still can't believe you called it a core set island? Look at this.
It's just a landbox island, basically.
Look at this one.
Yeah, it looks like a landbox swamp.
Oh my God. Okay, fine. All right. So let's go over the decks for people that are listening. This is our final build. It is triple Frostbite, Depart the Realm, Glimpse the Cosmos ×2, Axguard Cavalry. At the 3-drop, we've got Saw It Coming, Dwarven Hammer, Tuscari Firewalker, triple Agar the Freezing Flame, and a Svella Ice Shaper. At 4, we've got Augury Raven, double Behold the Multiverse, Frostpeak Yeti, yes, a Frostpeak Yeti, and Lityara Kinseekers. And then at the 5, we've got Bergstrider, the best Frostpire Arcanist ever, and double Squash.
Yeah, this deck is better than the other one. I think even though this deck's light on win conditions, it's got triple Agar, double Behold, Frostpire Arcanist for all the goods, double Glimpse the Cosmos, and then 2 Squashes, 3 Frostbites. Like that's just a fantastic combination of cards. You can beat them with those cards plus table scraps, which actually is what this deck is. The rest of the cards aren't that good.
Right, and that is an important lesson to take away from this, which is that, our strategy, you might be wondering, well, how are you going to win? Like, what's your strategy to actually win? But Luis summed it up when he said it before. We're overwhelming them with card advantage. That's our strategy here. If you get an Agar to stick on the battlefield, which this deck will be able to do with triple Agar, a Squash is a 2-for-1. A Frostbite can be a 2-for-1. And your hand just stays full while their board state goes away, and you fast forward 3 or 4 turns from there, and you've got 4 spells in your hand and your opponent's out of gas. And, the double Behold, the double Glimpse, and the Frostpire Arcanist will make sure that we basically never run out of gas. And like you said, table scraps. I mean, we're going to be throwing Lityara, Kinseekers, and Frostpeaks Yeti at them. It doesn't matter. If we're up 5 or 6 cards, you can win with cards like that, and that's our plan here. Okay. So there's our draft decks. Those were sweet. Those were really cool drafts to navigate too. And as always, we really hope it's useful for you listening to get a chance to hear our thought processes and our debates and the way that we go about making the decisions that we make. And this is a good time, for you to listen to how we do it. And then the goal for you listening at home should not be to copy the exact way that we play. That won't work for you because everybody has kind of their own takes, their own styles, their own strengths and weaknesses. But it should be to say, okay, I'm going to take the information and the approach that these two have because you trust our opinions and you know that we do well at it or whatever, and then incorporate that into the way that you draft so that you can make adjustments or anything along those lines from the way that you're doing it now to maybe a way that could earn you a few more wins. And that's what these particular episodes are all about. Any last thoughts on the drafts, Luis, before your hard stop comes up?
These drafts are relatively straightforward. I think when I look back at drafts and I try to think, okay, what are the big decision points? Where could we have done something differently, or maybe should have done something differently? I like where we ended up both drafts. I feel like Blue-Red Giants was definitely open. Green was not open, despite us starting in more green.
I was going to say, you need to recognize that is not straightforward. A decent percentage of limited players would just be in green in that deck because they they picked green lands in a Path to the World tree early, and they're just like, well, I'm in green. That decision has been made. We abandon it almost entirely.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I suppose that the fact that we got past 0 green cards was a pretty good sign to do so. Mm-hmm. But I agree that is one of the decision points in the draft that, you know, can sometimes be hard to identify. And then the first draft, I think there are some interesting picks, like balancing Ice Tunnel, for example, versus Behold the Multiverse and all that. But, you know, we didn't do badly. And we had 4 Beholds and 2 Glimpses over our 2 drafts, you know, and a Graven Lore. So by that metric, I think we were doing just fine.
Yeah, that is, you know, we could have summed up this entire episode and just put ABH and just called it a day. But there you go. All right. Well, again, hopefully it's useful for you. And of course, any feedback you want to give us about the drafts or about this format for a draft or whatever, you can send it over to our social media. I'm Marshall_LR, pretty much everywhere. Luis is LSV, same thing. The video version of this episode will be up. So if you'd like to follow along so that you can see all the cards that we didn't take, we obviously can't read every card of every pack. Then you can see that. And then I try to play the matches out either on my stream or on a recorded video for these. I'm moving tomorrow, so this could be complicated because I won't have a setup until a little later in the weekend, but I probably won't be playing during that stretch anyway, so if the decks are still there, then maybe I'll plan on doing a video or playing them on my stream on Tuesday, one or the other, assuming I got everything set up by then. And we'll see how these decks actually do, at least in my hands. I always assume that they would do better if Luis was playing, but they're on my account, so you have to watch me play them. If you do want to find anything else about the show, like I just mentioned, my stream, Luis's stream. Luis, are you going to stream today?
I'm gonna potentially do it. I have not fully decided.
Okay. Well, if you do, I'll be watching. You can find links to that and mine over at lrcast.com. I want to remind you that the show is brought to you by Channel Fireball. It's the number one place to go for Magic stuff, period. Just if you need Magic related anything, Channel Fireball should be your first stop. They're the place to go to sell your cards, to buy your cards, whether they're sealed or singles. And of course, if you are looking to improve at the game, you've got free content as well as premium content with CFB Pro over there. And yeah, you're going to have to check them out if you want to kind of dive into the deep end of the pool here as far as Magic goes. ChannelFireball.com. Please do check them out. That's going to do it for this one. We'll see you next time.
So, you know, kind of related to what our preamble when we were talking about how, you know, I lost all my matches this weekend mm-hmm. and related to a question I think we get fairly frequently of like how to deal with losing. One of the things I always think about is it's hard to give advice also because everyone can and should deal with that in different ways. Not everyone is going to be kind of built the same way when it comes to that. And so that's always a little tricky because I don't want to give people advice that doesn't apply to them. I will say that there are things that sometimes I know can feel good, but I think are ultimately not that productive. An example of that is kind of like raging on social media, right? Like really expressing how unhappy you are there. And I understand the impetus to that. I've done that before myself. Mm-hmm. Usually I regret it. You know, I've watched other people do it to varying degrees of success. And, you know, one of the things I find really valuable is knowing the people in your life who you can kind of vent to. And if, you know, I'm not going to say that it's necessarily wrong. If you want to vent to social media and that's the way you take a load off, that's fine. I can tell you, I've regretted it generally when I've gone too hard there. And I know other people who have done that and, well, either regretted it or maybe should have regretted it because it can kind of come off badly. This kind of relates to our when we were talking about earlier where I was saying, like, I understand the frustration. I'm one of the people who is in this event and understand how this event can be frustrating. But I also know that, like, you know, in talking to like some of my friends who like played at Grand Prix and are no longer involved in like the pro scene or whatever, and they're like, you know, it's kind of tone deaf to be complaining about this to people who aren't even in this position. Mm-hmm. So I find it very valuable. I mean, there's a reason that like, you know, Huey or you can expect to hear a lot about complaints when I've got complaints, right?
Yeah.
And that's intentional. And as part of it is like, I really do think that it's important to to find good coping mechanisms, because there are frustrating things. And I always look at the upsides too. I get frustrated about these things because I care about them. I know people who don't care whether they win or lose, and it is not a good place to be.
That sucks. Yeah, that's the worst.
I mean, first of all, you're going to lose more than you would otherwise. I know that because I'm not I'm not one of those like mind over matter people who are like, if you believe it, it'll come true, that sort of thing. But if you don't want to win, you're going to win less than if you do want to win. Like that does matter in both finding better plays or putting in an extra effort, or even just signaling to your opponent, like if you seem beaten, sometimes like they'll be bolder and they will beat you more often. Like I know I've gotten a lot of mileage out of my opponents always thinking I have it. So I do like that I care about it. Obviously, like things like this weekend are frustrating. I do try to keep it all in perspective. I know how lucky I am to get to play these games, and I don't know. I like I said, I do plenty of expressing frustration, but I find it, at least for me, to not be as useful to do it in public, just because I don't know, people don't know all the context, they don't know you, and sometimes I think it just doesn't really help to put more of that into the world. But to go back to what I said at the beginning, everyone kind of does things differently. And, some people go, they go work out or take their dog on a walk, and that helps them get back into the game. Some people hop right back into the ranked queue and start playing. The Reed Dukes of the world write down every mistake they make after going 2-11 in the mocks and are playing in a PTQ the next weekend or whatever. And that's totally fine too. I think you got to find what works for you. I'm not going to be the expert there. The only person I'm an expert on is myself. And even then I still got plenty to learn, just like we all do. So
totally.
I don't know. I just had some of these thoughts because, losing sucks. It does. But how you deal with that also matters too. And if you're in a position to have something you care about, like that can be good too. It's again, I know plenty of people who kind of don't care about anything, and they're not happy about that. They wish they cared more about things.